talk today about competing goals or competing desires or competing beliefs. Guess what? They cancel each other out. One wins. The competition cancels one out. It also can cancel both out, where we just feel like we're not moving in any direction. And so let's use an example. Not everybody that listens to these Thursday musings knows their Enneagram, but we all know that place because we each have each Enneagram within us. So we all know that place where we're hypervigilant, we're careful, we try to predict what could happen next, what bad thing, bad in quotes, what scary thing, what untoward thing might happen next. And that seems logical. It's logical for sure to a child. It's logical for sure to someone little who's dependent in a scary situation. So let's say the adults, or one or two of the adults, are alcoholic, meaning they're changeable, they're mercurial, or one has an anger issue, and you never know because you don't understand the conversations when one of them will start yelling, or they both will start yelling, or whatever the situation is, it really doesn't matter. It's a good plan for a kid to try to figure out whether it's time to hide, whether it's time to expect that things are going to go in an untoward way. Why is it a good plan? Because it feels like the kid has some control. It may not actually be better, might be the same, but at least the child won't be surprised. Let's talk about how that works for an adult. Now, what if I probably have some people that I perceive as scary in my life because I am not done with that situation. Now, if you have scary people in your life, it's true, there are a percentage of people who speak loudly, who have anger issues, who are kind of non-negotiable. But I feel, and psychology research would back me up, that you have them in your life more than I would, because that's not my big issue. If it's yours, you're going to have them in your life because life wants you to get over it. I mean, that's just a point of view. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But let's go from what is. They're in your life. So you can hide from them, but then aren't they still in your mind? Aren't you still thinking about them a good part of every day? Probably, because that's how it works. When you're hyper vigilant and you're preparing to be safe, you're trying to protect yourself. Sounds logical, but in actuality, I ask you, does it make sense to scare yourself each and every day so you'll be safe. What you're producing is anxiety within your body by your thoughts, your beliefs, your anticipation. Okay, so you say to me, yeah, I do that, but what else can I do? That's my belief system, that's my pattern. I don't know anything else. Well, if you have competing beliefs, that means, or competing desires and goals, that means you believe that the world is scary, but you want to belong and you want to feel safe, which means you want to be sure that nothing scary will happen. And you want to connect with people. That's like saying, I want to go to Hawaii and Texas at the same time. Why isn't it possible? Well, to have connection, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you can both go to Disneyland together and ride the whatever it is you ride. Let's say you like to go to Disneyland and ride the rides. Well, you can go side by side, but to connect to Disneyland, even without sharing, you'd probably have to scream. You'd probably have to hold hands. You'd probably have to hold your breath. You'd probably have to share something. And maybe even share something you'd rather not share unless that's part of how you play the game. But do you see what I mean? It's through being real and being authentic and showing up as you are that brings connection and belonging. So why do they say first you have to belong to yourself? It means you have to be willing to feel what you feel, all the feelings, not just fear, not just positive, forced, pretended outlooks. You have to feel the anger, feel the distrust, and allow them, but know that they're yours. They're your feelings. It isn't what's happening outside. They're your interpretation, your reactions. That will change everything. Because when you show up real, someone can connect to you. Not everyone, not everybody will be your cup of tea, and you won't be everyone's, but you will belong with some people. You will belong in some groups, but if you hide behind nice, you will never feel like you belong and like you are not quite connecting. And it's that holding back. So let's say Texas is showing up as you and Hawaii is being careful. Can you experiment and take a chance just with one person? Find someone who is relatively safe. I say relatively safe because no one is 100% safe to you. They may never wish you harm, but there will be circumstances because of your setup from your family that makes them seem unsafe. They will say something. They will use a tone of voice, because if you acknowledge this is your framework, this is your belief system, life is scary, and I'm trying to be safe in a scary world. That's a mindset. We could say another framework is that joy and peace and allowing what is available at every moment. And I'm going to be a scout. I'm going to be on the lookout for that. Can you see that that changes your destination, changes your framework? How can you change from what you had, looking out for and anticipating bad stuff, which seems like the secure place, but it will get you the results that you've gotten? Does it seem too dangerous, too scary to look for peace, love, and joy? If it does, would you be willing to acknowledge that you trust yourself more than you trust life? Or if your language is God, or if your language is Holy Spirit, doesn't matter your language. It's one or the other. You can't have both. You can't go to Texas and Hawaii at the same time. You can go 1 month to Texas and 1 month to Hawaii. So that is the good news. If you bring present time consciousness into the experiment, let me know your results. You might be surprised. Is it time to change your thoughts, your feelings, your belief system, and your actions for that neoplasticity that's available to give you a different life than you've had up until now? Believe me, it's worth it. I used to be melancholic. I loved sad movies. I loved soap operas because people do each other in wrong and love doesn't last. And now I like things that are inspirational because I consciously am optimistic with an acknowledgement of the polarities. Not everything is going to go my way or the happy way, because happy doesn't mean anything without sad. So there is sadness. Yesterday, I heard about a woman who got a divorce when she didn't want a divorce. Her son died, and then she lost her whole house in Florida. That's upsetting. That's sad. That's not positive. What's she gonna do next? How is she gonna handle it? Now we've got something juicy. We have opportunity, but we have to feel the feelings. So just plastering on a positive outlook, oh well, no, that's not going to get her anywhere, because of course she has to feel her feelings, and then she can have a new moment. Write to me if you have questions or if you are willing to experiment. Bye for now.